I keep my goals to myself, cause whenever I share it with folks, they get a look upon their face and their memory floats to a time where their goals and the stars ain't...
What's good? We're going to get into TNA Impact from May the 21st, 2026. This was a pretty good episode of TNA Impact. I thoroughly enjoyed it. TNA is now beginning to integrate some Evolve / NXT talent on this show, which is good. They're having some of the young guys come over and mix it up with some of the TNA guys. So good stuff there. The main event of the show was good. The Steve Maclin, Mike Santana feud seems to be over. It sucks that Maclin got injured, concussed back in March during the main event of Sacrifice. So that's what this whole show was about. Mike Santana was victorious, so we all knew that going in. I think for Slammiversary, it's going to end up being probably a triple threat match. Steve Maclin versus Eric Young versus Mike Santana. I think that's what's going to end up happening, more than likely. I don't see Steve Maclin losing. I don't see Mike Santana losing the title until probably maybe in either July or August. And I think what they're going to probably end up doing is hopefully by that time, Aleister Black could show up around that time. Let's just say it happens in let's just say August. I would imagine maybe Aleister Black wins, have Mike Santana do like an open challenge. Nobody answers it, and then at whatever pay-per-view they have in August, Mike Santana ends up losing there. Because I don't expect for him to stick around in TNA too much longer. Leon Slater, he was not on the show either, which was kind of weird. And he lost his title last week. So apparently, it's been reported that AEW has interest in him, and so does WWE. I think Leon should go to WWE and give it a shot. I know people want to talk shit about WWE because of all the stuff that TKO is doing, but it is what it is. There's no point in him going to AEW. He basically literally does the same thing as everybody else does, right? They've got 1,000,005 flippy guys, but him going to a WWE, he can hone his character and keep on perfecting his craft. And I think that's what he should do in the long term of things. But it could be a possibility where he sticks around with TNA. It could be, I think, that he'll end up sticking around in TNA. And I do think he'll probably end up being world champion, probably by Bound for Glory. I think that's what they'll probably end up doing. But I don't see Mike Santana being in TNA for too much longer. I can see him sticking around through most of the summer. But by late summer, going into early fall, I think he's as good as gone to, heading over to NXT, which, is fine. So there is that. Overall, though, the show was pretty good. And we are going to talk about, as per usual, the ratings. So, the ratings for last week's show are in. Still down from a couple of weeks previous. And for the May 14th edition of TNA Impact, TNA got 196K viewers, which to me is fine. Again, it's going to fluctuate like a roller coaster, up 1 minute, down the next. And right now, TNA is kind of in a down period right now. I do expect for the ratings to pick up going into Slammiversary. Again, it's their version of SummerSlam, so it's like their second biggest pay-per-view of the year, and their WrestleMania is Bound for Glory. For the demo, for the 18 to 49 demo, it was a 0.03. So again, I expect for things to increase. This episode was pretty okay. I believe it was live. I think it was live, so that's fine. I like that, so this makes sense. I'm interested in seeing what they're going to do for Slammiversary. I really am. But I do think for Mike Santana, he's going to be kind of thrusted into a triple threat match. I'm not a fan of that. You guys should know that I despise triple threats and fatal four ways. It's just lame, if we're being honest. But TNA at this point in time doesn't have that many main event guys that are worth anything, and you kind of have to wait until they can bring in new guys, So there's that. But TNA, in my opinion, they do need help. They need to bring in more new talent. Thankfully, they just got the services of Fabian Aichner, so that's fine there. So that's good. And he was on this show, so yeah. All right, let's go ahead and get into the show. So we kicked the show off with the system, and Eddie Edwards says that TNA belongs to the system. Barry Bronson said they will put down anyone who stepped up to them. Cedric Alexander, he bragged about beating Leon Slater for the X Division title last week and ruining Leon Slater's dreams. So the lights go out. Fabian Aichner shows up, gets a good reaction. So he's a babyface, which is good. He said that he's a future TNA champion, and he's here to stay and to claim a spot. So the system, they go after Fabian Aichner. He fights them all off. And then he put Cedric Alexander into a submission. And then the system, they helped out Cedric to get to safety. So good stuff there. I like this. I am damn sure interested in a Fabian Aichner, Cedric Alexander feud. This thing should last for a good 3 to 4 months, with Fabian Aichner winning the title at some point, right? I think that Fabian Aichner is bought into TNA. I really do think he is. And again, people have to realize it's a smaller promotion, but guys can thrive in TNA. Men and women can thrive in TNA, right? I know people want to always go to the bigger two, WWE and AEW, but after a while, that shit gets old, right? It gets old because you become stagnant. You can really grow in a smaller promotion and really find yourself. Like, it's funny how people are like, well, Mike Santana, he should have stayed in AEW. AEW to do what? He wasn't doing fuck all anything. He was doing jack shit. Motherfuckers online told him to, grab the tag rope and be thankful. It's like, he was like, no, fuck that. I'm out. I mean, not everybody wants to be focused on money. Not everybody is controlled by money. A lot of these guys and girls in AEW just want to work. Look at how many guys and girls from TNA that are just like wasting away. Josh Alexander, he's out with injury. Jake Dole, he's not doing anything. He's out with injury as well. The Rascals, they're not doing anything. They're just on Collision and probably Ring of Honor, right? I get it. The money's good, but again, it's not much you can do after a while. You get tired of being in the same spot for years over years, and then you're like, well, I want to do something different. And it's always good to have a change of scenery. So, there's that. But I'm interested in Fabian Aichner. Him being a babyface is great. I like it. He had a really good promo. The crowd was super into him, so good stuff there. Moving on from that, this leads us into Daria Ray. She had a face-to-face meeting with Steve Maclin backstage. She said that the people wanted to kick him out of TNA for attacking Tom Hannafin months ago. But she brought him back. She talked about his opportunity to win the world title tonight. And then that was it. Okay, this is fine. I'm hoping that Daria Ray sticks around. I think she only signed a deal for 6 months, but that's probably just to get her feet wet with TNA. I expect her to re-sign with the promotion. I don't see her going to AEW. And we know good and damn well WWE doesn't want her back at all, under no fucking circumstances. So I don't expect for her to come back. I do expect for probably Alba Fire and Zoe Stark at some point to show up in TNA. Again, the Knockouts division in TNA is kind of weak at the moment. You need people. You need women. So, knockouts like, I do think that Zoe Stark and Alba Fire could do very well in TNA. I really, truly do. There's no point in them going to AEW. Same thing with Chris Statlander. I feel like whenever her contract is up, she needs to go to either NXT or TNA, right? Again, after a while, you get tired of being fucking stagnant. And that's what AEW and WWE do after a while, after you've been there for a while and you're just stuck in a rut and you can't really get out. You're like, man, I'm ready to do something else. And that's where promotions like TNA can thrive. TNA, NWA, MLW. Like, that's where you can thrive and make a name for yourself. Reinvigorate yourself. So, there's that. This is fine, though. Hopefully, Sonya ends up re-signing. She probably will, though, more than likely. She probably will. Moving on from that, this leads us into Atlanta Black versus Indy Hartwell. This match was basically kind of thrown out. Ariana Grace, she was on commentary. She ended up getting involved in the match. Referee threw it out. Ariana beat the shit out of Indy Hartwell and threw her out of the ring. Ariana Grace got on the mic. She was booed heavily, which is good. She complained about Lei Ying Lee getting a title opportunity that she didn't deserve because Ariana Grace's father was mad at her. So Santana Marella, he showed up. He got a pretty decent reaction. He called Ariana classless. Santino said that Lei Ying Lee did deserve the title shot. He called Ariana Grace a brat and said that Stax makes him sick. And then Santino and Stax, they squared off. Santino was about to bring out the Cobra, but Daria Ray, she showed up. She interrupted everything. She made fun of Santino, insulted him. And she told Stax that he had to file an official complaint to have a match with Santino Marella. Okay, this is fine, but I thought this was going to take place on like a Slammiversary. Apparently, maybe next week they'll do like a pretty good angle, more than likely. I don't think they're going to give this match away on free television. Would they? I don't know. Because this has been going on for quite a few months. And I want to see the payoff on a pay-per-view rather than just a random live episode of TNA Impact. But that's just me. Like, that shit would be weird. Like, some angles you can pay off on television, and some angles you just need to pay off on pay-per-view. But that's just me. Moving on. Matt Hardy defeats Vincent. Basically, Matt Hardy became broken Matt Hardy for a brief moment. The lights go out. Willow showed up, a.k.a. Jeff Hardy's persona. He hit Vincent with the umbrella, then he bounced out. Then Matt hit the twist of fate for the 1, 2, 3. There's that. I don't give a fuck about this. Who gives a shit about this at all? I'm done. I am done. I'm a fan of the Hardys. Always have been, always will. But this Righteous feud can fuck off. It is so damn stupid. And again, TNA needs more tag teams. They have a weak tag division. Big time weak tag division. So hopefully, maybe Tyson and Tyreek can go to TNA. They've been there before. And I think that would be a good place for them to go and to hone their craft some more. I mean, they're still fairly young. That's what I would do if I was them. Same thing in AEW, where you have like a bunch of tag teams every single way, like, Private Party and Top Flight. Like, those guys have been there since day one. It's time for those guys to move on and do something else, show up in TNA. I get Tony Khan gives these guys a lot of money, but man, fuck that shit. Let's let some of these guys go and do what they have to do so they can better themselves. Moving on. Elijah was backstage playing his guitar. So AJ Francis walked up and talked to him. AJ wanted to collab on music, doing a country/hip-hop project. Had been pretty cool. Elijah, he declined and said it's just him and his guitar, and he's a grifter. My bad, he's a drifter. And that he walks alone as a drifter. So AJ then said he would regret that. So this is fine. They are going to be doing a feud between Elijah and AJ Francis. This is fine. I like this, but Elijah, he's been winning most of his feuds, but he hasn't had any real sense of direction. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I really don't know. But this feud could be interesting for a couple months. Let's see where it goes. Moving on. The injury report. So Casey Navarro and AJ Francis, they're okay. Moose is still out. Indy Hartwell's okay. Mike Santana and Steve Maclin, they're okay. Okay, that's fine. I think Trey Miguel's still out. We don't know when he'll come back. He might come back at Slammiversary, maybe. Maybe we do maybe they're going to do a 2 out of 3 falls at Slammiversary. Him versus Trey Miguel versus Mustafa Ali. So maybe that'll happen. All right, moving on from that. Santino Marella said that Champions Challenge would return next week. He said that we would find out tonight who would be the captains. Daria Ray showed up. She said that Santino would face Stacked next week. Eddie Edwards in the system, they showed up. And he asked for a match against Fabian Aichner next week. So, there's that. Okay, that's fine. Moving on, Mustafa Ali, he defeated Starboy, Chaz Hall. Okay, good stuff there. What's his name's from Cali? That being Starboy. Good stuff. He's young. He's been on the Indies for like 10 years. So he's been wrestling since he was 13. That's pretty cool. I like that. And he's doing pretty good shit in Evolve and NXT. It's fine. Him being in TNA for a little bit, for a little stint is fine. I'm down for that. So I like it. Let's see where it goes. Starboy is pretty cool. I like Chaz. I really do. I think he can do pretty okay. Moving on from that, this leads us into Santino Marella. He talked to Keith Jordan, who was there last week backstage. So Mara Shade, she introduced herself to Jordan, and she said that she saw his exchange with Mr. Elegance last week. She offered him a spot in her corner next week to offset Mr. Elegance. Okay, that's fine. Cool stuff there. I like that. Hopefully they can do interesting stuff with Mara Shade. Hopefully. I forgot to mention there was a backstage segment involving the Elegance Brand. Rosemary kind of wrote some stuff on the wall and everything else, so they're going to end up doing a feud, which is fine. That's pretty okay. So they were getting ready in the dressing room, and until the lights they went out, and Rosemary, Allie, and Mara, they wrote on the wall, "See you soon" in lipstick. Okay, that's fine. Like I said before, they're teasing a feud. I'm down for it. All right. Cool. Moving on. This leads us into Eric Young. His sorry fucking ass is still on this show. So he talked to Steve Maclin. He talked about how their paths crossed again. Steve Maclin looked straight ahead. He didn't say anything. Eric Young talked about how Mike Santana was trying to take away Steve Maclin's livelihood. Eric Young said the winner would take on him at a later date. And Eric Young said that Steve Maclin's chance is to prove him wrong again. Steve Maclin's fate is in his own hands, and it's the biggest choice of his life. I don't give a shit about this. Fuck Eric Young, right? This is the problem with TNA. They need to get rid of these guys. Frankie Kazarian, Moose, Brian Myers, Eddie Edwards, Diener. Put these guys in producer-like roles or backstage roles and move them the fuck on. And bring in fresh faces. Fuck. This shit is so annoying. God damn. I don't know why they continue to push Eric Young. I really don't. It boggles my mind why TNA continues to push Eric Young, right? He must know where the bodies are buried or something. Or he's got some mega dirt on TNA. I don't know what the hell it is, but damn. He's still being pushed. Ugh. Moving on. Xia Brookside defeated Jada Stone. Match was pretty okay. She ends up winning via the dark side with DDT finish for the win. That's fine, so I like that. Pretty cool stuff there. Moving on. This leads us into the main event of the evening. Mike Santana defeats Steve Maclin to retain the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. This match was very good. So Steve Maclin in the match, he brought out a table. Mike Santana ended up trying to leapfrog out the ring, but he He tweaked his knee a little bit. Maclin worked on the knee for a good bit. He ended up doing a chop block and everything, worked on the knee for most of the match. Mike Santana fought back, ended up hitting the blockbuster. Maclin kicked out. Mike Santana tried to go for the super kick. Maclin acted like he was injured. He ended up doing a super kick of his own. Mike Santana, he kicked out of that, and then he ended up hitting a clothesline followed by the spin the block for the 1, 2, 3. And that was all she wrote. So good stuff for this. This was great. I love the main event. This was a strong main event. I actually do like this. I like how they riled up Steve Maclin throughout the night, that being Daria Ray and Eric Young. I don't think that this is over, however. I think what they're going to end up doing, like I said before, is probably going to do a triple threat match. Again, the world title picture in TNA is very, very weak. There are no real, credible heels to take the title off of Mike Santana outside of Steve Maclin. Again, unless, they bring in, unless they're able to bring in an Aleister Black, which I do think they'll be able to bring him in. They should. I think Aleister Black, coming into TNA would make an immediate impact. He really would. I think that's the best place for him. At least he'll be on TV still. And that would be great. Because if they're going to have Leon Slater be TNA World Heavyweight Champion, at some point, Mike Santana has to lose this title, right? And you can't turn Mike Santana heel. And that wouldn't even happen. It wouldn't even make sense. So I do think Steve Maclin I do think at some point Mike Santana will lose the title. But to who, I don't know. Hopefully it would be somebody like Aleister Black. If not, definitely like a Mustafa Ali. And maybe they end up putting Aleister Black in the mid-card for a small bit. Maybe have an open challenge at some pay-per-view later date, later in the summer. I'm not sure what the pay-per-view in August is. I think it's Lockdown. So maybe by that time, maybe he shows up there. And maybe he defeats Mustafa Ali. And he's the new TNA International Champion. He holds that for maybe a good 4 to 6 months. And he ends up going after, Mike Santana or whoever's going to be champion around that time. But, there's that. But all in all, this is a pretty okay episode of TNA Impact. I like what they're doing. TNA still needs to bring in new talent. They will in due time. I'm still worried about Ricky Sosa. We haven't seen him in a few weeks, and that's not good. And he just signed with TNA back at Rebellion. So that's not good. That's not good. We haven't seen him on television for a minute. So, there's that. But what do you guys think of TNA? Let me know. Like, comment, subscribe. Peace.